Clara stood at the edge of the worn threshold of the foster home, where the peeling paint whispered stories of neglect and the creaks of the floorboards mirrored the solitude she felt deep within. The cold of the winter air seeped through the cracks, wrapping around her like an old tattered blanket, a constant reminder of her isolation. She often lost herself in thoughts of memories that felt like shadows, hovering just out of reach, but the most haunting of all was the day social services took her mother away. That moment reverberated in her mind, a raw and open wound, refusing to heal, leaving her with an ache nestled beneath her heart. She craved connection, yearning for someone to acknowledge her existence, to pull her from the corner where she sat quietly, drawing dreams in the dust that settled on the floor, like wishes waiting to be discovered. In this world that pulsed with life outside her small window, she felt like a phantom, invisible to everyone who hurried by, too busy to notice the small girl with wide, hopeful eyes. As she sat quietly, clutching a dilapidated key that had once belonged to her mother, she felt the weight of it in her pocket, heavy like a promise or perhaps a curse. It was a relic of a past that felt distant, one she whispered her fears and desires to, hoping for an answer that never came. The key held untold secrets, the kind that stories are made of, and it was both her comfort and burden, symbolizing everything she had lost and everything she might never find again. One afternoon, as she sat on the worn steps of the foster home, the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden hue that felt almost unreal against her grey reality. The news that arrived was unexpected. It echoed in her ears like a distant chime that lingered in the air. Her estranged grandfather had passed away, leaving behind a neglected farm for just $1. Clara blinked, disbelief filling her mind. A farm. Why would she want a farm? A place that felt as far removed from her reality as the dreams she sketched in the dust? Yet within that doubt, a flicker of hope stirred inside her, a strange tugging at her heartstrings that urged her to grasp this opportunity, to perhaps reclaim a part of herself that she had long thought would remain lost. If you also feel this ache in your chest, consider liking and subscribing. Someone else might need to hear this story today. Clara made the decision to visit the farm, her heart racing with a mix of apprehension and anticipation, her breath catching as she left the familiar shadows of the foster home behind. As she arrived, she was greeted by the sight of rotting wood and overgrown weeds, a place lost in time, much like herself. Yet, there was something about the decay that resonated with her, a kindred spirit in the desolation. The barn, looming in the distance, captured her gaze, its worn and sturdy presence evoking an inexplicable sense of belonging. She felt drawn to it, as if it held the keys to untold secrets waiting to be unveiled. Clara stepped closer, feeling the weight of her past lift slightly, as if the barn understood her, offering solace in its silence, beckoning her into the embrace of possibility and the beginning of a journey that would forever alter the fabric of her existence. As Clara stepped into the barn, a wave of mixed emotions washed over her. The heavy wooden door creaked open with a sound that echoed through the empty space, and she was immediately enveloped by a musky scent of damp earth and aged hay, a smell that felt oddly familiar and comforting despite the decay surrounding her. Dust motes danced in the slanting rays of sunlight that filtered through the cracks, illuminating a forgotten world of rusted tools and broken dreams that mirrored her own. Clara stood still for a moment, absorbing the remnants of a life that once thrived here, feeling as though she had crossed through a threshold, not just into a barn, but into the echoes of her family's past. Her heart raced as she scanned the cavernous space, noting the uneven ground below her feet, a patchwork of dirt and stray hay bales scattered haphazardly, as if the barn had been left in a hurried departure. It was a place frozen in time, much like the memories that haunted her thoughts. Every corner whispered stories of resilience and struggle, and Clara felt the weight of her isolation begin to lift, if only just a little. In this space, she could almost hear the laughter of children playing, the gentle murmurs of family bonding over simple joys, reminders of a life that had slipped through her fingers. Clara's gaze landed on an old trunk nestled in the far corner, cloaked in a veil of cobwebs. It seemed to be drawing her in, as if it held the keys to the questions that had plagued her since childhood. With tentative steps, she approached it. The trunk was sturdy, its wood dark with age, and Clara's fingers trembled as she brushed away the gathering dust. She could almost feel her heart beating in rhythm with the anticipation coursing through her. What secrets lay behind its rusted clasp? What stories would unfold? As Clara pried open the trunk, a hush fell around her, as though the barn itself held its breath, waiting for her to unveil the treasures hidden within. The lid creaked open with a stubborn protest, revealing a jumble of yellowed letters and sepia-toned photographs that floated softly in the dim light. Each item felt alive, whispering the memories of her grandfather's life, moments captured in time that now mingled with her own history. She pulled out a stack of letters, their edges frayed, the ink faded yet still legible. They were filled with the thoughts of a man who had faced trials far beyond what she had imagined, a man who had sacrificed so much to keep his family safe. As Clara read, the words jumped off the page, painting vivid images in her mind. There were tales of struggle during harsh winters when food was scarce, of love that persevered amidst heartache, and of dreams that clung to life despite the odds stacked against them. How had she never known this warmth seeped through the stories of her family? She felt a flicker of connection to a lineage she had long thought broken, almost lost, within the beauty of the words penned by a man who yearned for a connection with his own blood. Each letter was a thread, weaving into the tapestry of her identity, connecting her to the very essence of her grandfather's spirit. Clara learned of his deep love for the land, his hands calling to the earth, growing food not just for survival, but as a means to nurture love and unity within a family that had faced countless challenges. She felt her heart swell with emotions she didn't know she had, the longing for belonging, the aching understanding that the love stretched across generations, reaching out to her in a way that felt like a balm to her wounded soul. Clara was absorbed in these words when a photograph caught her eye, a picture of a young girl with a bright smile, running barefoot through the fields that surrounded the farm. It struck her like a chord resonating deep within, a reflection of the joy she had long forgotten. The girl looked so free, so alive, as if the gentle breeze that danced through the grass folded her dreams into reality. In that fleeting moment, Clara found herself wishing for that kind of freedom, the kind that allowed her to forget the pain of her own past, if only for a little while. As she pieced together the stories, Clara's sorrow began to mingle with hope, a sensation so unfamiliar yet intoxicating. She could feel the walls of loneliness cracking, allowing fragments of resilience to trickle in. The barn, once a silhouette of decay, was transforming before her eyes. It was becoming a sanctuary where her past and future intertwined, a canvas awaiting the strokes of her own dreams. In those hours spent within the barn's embrace, Clara slowly started to rebuild herself. The letters became her guiding stars, illuminating the path towards self-acceptance. No longer was she simply the lonely girl trapped in a rundown foster home. She was part of something greater, something that held the weight of love in its words and the depth of longing through its histories. In restoring this barn, she felt she was also restoring herself, reclaiming the pieces that held her spirit captive for so long, and for the first time in a long time, Clara dared to consider the possibility of belonging to something, of being worthy of love and a future filled with hope. Clara returned to the barn each day, driven by an urgency to unearth her family's history. The sunlight poured down, illuminating the spaces she was determined to fill with warmth and life. Each letter she read deepened her bond with her grandfather, a man whose dreams of the farm had once pulsed with vigor. Clara felt his spirit guide her as she worked, and with every story she uncovered, she saw her place in this world grow clearer. One afternoon, while rummaging in an old trunk, Clara found a faded photograph of her grandfather, smiling beside the barn. The simple joy in his expression resonated within her, a connection across time and loss. His sturdy hands rested on the fence. She could almost hear his voice sharing the secrets of the land. Inspired by this image, Clara decided to delve deeper into her grandfather's past, determined to reveal the stories hidden beneath the surface of the farm. Motivated by her discoveries, Clara spent her days exploring the property. The once forgotten fields were strewn with wildflowers that beckoned her to imagine a time when they burst with life. As she walked through the rustling grass, echoes of laughter from children playing filled her mind. The connection to her heritage felt like a long-lost embrace, wrapping around her as if the land was nurturing her spirit with each gentle breeze. One day, Clara stumbled onto a weathered shed tucked behind aged hay bales. The door hung crookedly, inviting her to uncover its secrets. It revealed an array of old tools, each one rusted yet holding a history of labor and love that had shaped the farm. Clara felt a surge of determination as she selected a shovel, its worn handle fitting comfortably in her grip. The very act of holding these tools sparked her imagination of the lives that had come before her. Amid the clutter, her fingers grazed over a dusty notebook, its leather cover cracked. Eagerly, she opened it to discover pages filled with her grandfather's sketches and notes. Each entry detailed dreams of crops, plans for the barn, and reflections on the seasons. The words were like whispers of wisdom, encouraging Clara to envision her own journey. The weight of her loneliness slowly began to lift, replaced by the fire of possibility, ignited by her grandfather's undying hope. Days turned into weeks, and Clara transformed the shed into a workshop. She cleared away dust and debris, finding solace in the rhythmic motions of restoration. With every tool she organized, she felt her connection to the farm deepen, each piece reflecting her newfound strength. She embraced the idea of nurturing life here, much like her grandfather had done amid the struggles of his time. As Clara cleared away overgrown patches, she stumbled upon a corner of the property that seemed untouched. Hidden beneath layers of brush, she discovered the remnants of an old garden with rotting fencing that still clung to its place. In that moment, Clara understood. This was her chance to breathe life back into the earth, to cultivate something beautiful that would carry her grandfather's legacy forward. Each seed she planted would stand as a testament to resilience and hope. In nurturing the garden, Clara turned the act of planting into a deeply personal ritual. She felt the earth's coolness beneath her hands and envisioned the bounty that would bloom in time. With every seed sown, Clara insisted on cultivating not just the land, but her spirit. The barn's significance grew as it transformed into a vibrant heart of hope, a place of belonging where she could find herself anew. As sprouts began to emerge from the soil, Clara couldn't help but feel the weight of her past lifting. The memories that had once burdened her now became stepping stones to a brighter future. She was no longer a lonely girl abandoned to shadows. She was becoming a steward of her family's heritage, honoring the connection that ran deep through generations. Clara stood amid the flourishing garden, its colors vibrant against a backdrop of blue sky. In doing this, she found her purpose, not merely in restoring a dilapidated farm, but in crafting a home filled with love, laughter, and acceptance. The barn, once abandoned, now pulsed with life, brimming with promise. Each blossom whispered tales of resilience, celebration, and the freedom Clara had longed for, surrounding her with a sense of belonging she had yearned for in solitude. As the sun set over the horizon, Clara watched the golden light sprinkle warmth over the land. She was writing a new chapter, not only for herself, but also for the legacy of her family. She felt anchored in love, hope, and home, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Embracing her newfound purpose, Clara smiled, knowing she was no longer searching for belonging. She was creating it, one seed at a time. As spring moved into full bloom, the barn became a flurry of activity. Clara poured her energy into transforming the property, each day unveiling another layer of potential she had once overlooked. The once dreary walls were now adorned with vibrant colors, and the farm began to resonate with the laughter of children once again. Clara's efforts were beginning to attract the attention of those in the nearby town who had long since forgotten about the farm and its charming history. With the garden flourishing, Clara felt a pulse of excitement coursing through her. One afternoon, she set out to the town's small market to gather seeds and supplies. As she walked through the bustling square, she noticed a group of children playing tag amidst the stalls. Their carefree laughter filled the air, and the sight brought a smile to her face, reminding her of a time when joy felt just as vibrant in her own life. Yet, amid the joy and laughter, Clara felt a familiar stir of loneliness, not for lack of people around her, but for the absence of a connection she yearned to forge. As she perused the market, Clara spotted Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman known for her exquisite floral arrangements. Their paths crossed as Clara approached her booth. "Hello, Clara. I see you've been busy with the farm," Mrs. Thompson said, her eyes twinkling with warmth. "It looks beautiful out there. I might just have to come by and see for myself." Clara felt the warmth of this interaction envelop her. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. I've been trying to bring it back to life," she replied, her voice barely concealing the pride embedded within. The conversation flowed, filled with shared stories and memories of the farm, and Clara felt as though she could finally shed the layers of isolation that had once shrouded her heart. Before she knew it, the sun was setting, and Clara clutched a bag full of seeds tightly as she made her way home, the weight of her new friendships bringing a sense of fulfillment. The garden had become a nurturing space not only for flowers, but also for connections that had been waiting to bloom. As she approached the barn, her heart swelled. Each day she was creating a mosaic of community and belonging, and the loneliness that held her captive for so long seemed to fade beneath the new memories she was crafting. But the air shifted when Clara discovered an overlooked room in the barn that had remained locked, a relic hidden among her grandfather's old tools. Drawn by an instinct she couldn't quite identify, she found the key buried beneath a loose floorboard and slowly unlocked the door. The creaking hinges revealed a dusty space filled with old furniture and forgotten memories. Among the clutter, she discovered a meticulously kept centerpiece, a trunk bursting with additional letters and keepsakes from her grandfather. Her heart raced as she removed items one by one, uncovering old photographs of family gatherings, handwritten notes filled with dreams, and a small box adorned with rusted hinges. Each object revealed whispers of a past she had yet to fully comprehend, and Clara felt her connection with her grandfather grow richer with each item uncovered. Delicately she opened the small box, revealing a collection of delicate flat stones, each inscribed with words representing virtues: courage, love, hope, and resilience. The significance of the box washed over Clara like a wave. As she held hope in her hand, she recognized that, through these stones, her grandfather had encased the values that anchored their family through adversity. The letters contained not just memories, but lessons, wisdom that had been passed down, waiting for her to understand its importance. With a newfound resolve, Clara returned to the community she had begun to create. Inspired by the discoveries in the barn, she invited the townsfolk to a gathering at the farm. It would be a celebration, a chance for her to share not only her work, but also the legacy of love and resilience that her grandfather had instilled in her. On the day of the gathering, Clara awoke before dawn, butterflies fluttering in her stomach. As the sun rose, she busied herself in the kitchen, preparing simple dishes from the produce she had grown in her garden. The aroma of fresh bread mingled with the scent of blooming flowers, filling the barn with warmth and promise. As the townsfolk arrived, Clara stood at the entrance of the barn, welcoming them with open arms. The warm glow of the setting sun poured through the barn's open doors, casting an inviting light over the gathering. Laughter echoed through air filled with the delicious scent of the food Clara had prepared, and she felt herself letting go of the last remnants of her past fears. As they mingled, Clara stepped forward to share the stories behind the farm and its history, the letters she had discovered and the values etched on the stones she now carried in her pocket. Each word she shared felt like a thread weaving the fabric of their community together, drawing them closer to one another, while honoring the spirit of those who came before her. The evening unfolded with stories, laughter, and feasting among friends. Clara caught a glimpse of the children playing tag in the barn, their shrieks of joy piercing the air once more, and her heart swelled with a sense of belonging. She felt the weight of her past lifting, replaced by warmth and connection. As twilight deepened, Clara gathered everyone's attention and invited them to hold the stones she had uncovered. One by one, she shared the meanings behind each inscribed word, urging them to find opportunities to embody those values in their lives. A silence settled over the group, a reverence for the moment they were sharing, a celebration of community and connection. Clara marveled at the faces surrounding her, understanding that this gathering was more than a mere event. It marked the beginning of her bridge to the future. The barn transformed from a space of isolation to a hub of connection, a home filled with love, laughter, and acceptance. She finally felt at peace, knowing she had created a sanctuary not only for herself, but for a community that had been searching for a place to belong. As the night wore on, Clara looked around at the smiles and the fading sunlight. She had embraced the legacy of her grandfather and breathed life into it. The barn pulsed with hope, and for the first time in her life, Clara understood that she was not alone. In the hearts of those gathered, she had found her home. As the celebration continued, Clara felt enveloped in an overwhelming sense of warmth. Soft laughter mingled with the rustling leaves outside, and the barn thrummed with life. In the flickering glow of lantern light, Clara noticed the diverse tapestry of faces, neighbors, children, parents with stories old and new, woven together by the threads of her grandfather's legacy. Each shared smile was a testament to the connections she had nurtured, and this moment represented a sanctuary for every lonely heart that had crossed her path. The evening air was filled with stories as people began to share their own connections to the land, to family, to the dreams that had brought them together. Clara listened intently, absorbing every word and every experience. With each story, her heart swelled, a reminder that she had succeeded in creating a space where everyone felt seen and valued. The idea that loneliness could be transformed into community filled her with joy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the barn in golden hues, Clara stepped aside for a moment, seeking a breath of fresh air. Outside, under the vast expanse of sky, she gazed at the stars beginning to twinkle overhead. The vastness of it all reminded her of the dreams that had once felt unreachable. Now, she stood at a crossroads, no longer overshadowed by fear but illuminated by hope. This land, this barn, these people, they all represented endless possibilities. Lost in contemplation, Clara didn't notice someone approach until they cleared their throat gently. She turned to find Mrs. Thompson, eyes glistening with the weight of unspoken words. "You've done something beautiful here, Clara," she said softly. "Not just with the land, but with the way you've brought us all together. Your grandfather would be proud." Clara felt her heart swell again, but there was a tinge of vulnerability in her voice as she replied, "Sometimes I still feel the pull of my past, like it's lurking just beyond the edge of this happiness." Mrs. Thompson nodded knowingly, placing a gentle hand on Clara's shoulder. "We all carry pieces of our past, dear. It's part of what makes us human. But look at what you've built. You've formed roots here, and roots take time to grow." With her heart bolstered by this encounter, Clara returned inside. The gathering had shifted, and she could sense the stillness that had settled over the group. She decided to share the stones she had unearthed earlier, the virtues that had once belonged to her grandfather. One by one, she passed them around, inviting each person to hold them tightly and share what each word meant to them. The barn resonated with revelations and reflections, each word sparking candid conversations that bridged the space between them. "Courage," a young boy named Timmy said, his small hands gripping the stone. "It's like when I feel scared to climb the tree in my yard, but I do it anyway. It makes me brave." Laughter erupted, and parents nodded in agreement, echoing their own childhood fears as the conversation wove between past and present. Clara felt her own bravery unfold, bearing her soul in front of this community that had become family. "Love means support," a woman chimed in. "It's having each other's backs. You know, like when you helped me plant those flowers last summer." "Oh, yes. And resilience," Clara added, her heart racing. "It's about bouncing back when things get tough like I did when I moved to the farm. I didn't know how I would manage, but I just kept going." Clara saw growth reflected in their faces as they shared laughter and nodded along. The highs and lows of their lives entwined, creating a rich tapestry reflecting every face present. It was clear they were all healing together, each sharing their stories, transforming pain into strength, just as she had done. As night fell and the lanterns flickered against the darkness, Clara felt a line of impatience within her, yearning for her next step. She, alongside her community, had journeyed toward healing and growth, but she didn't want this connection to be fleeting and then lost within the sands of time. "How can we make this place a home for everyone, not just for tonight?" she asked, her heart pounding. "What if we create a community garden?" Mrs. Thompson suggested. "A place for everyone to gather, share, and nurture together." The idea took root among the group. discussions blossoming like the flowers they were planting. They shared ideas on workshops, cooking classes, and more, each suggestion rich with passion. Clara's heart raced with excitement as possibilities began to swirl before her eyes. This wasn't just a soliloquy of her own desires, it was an authentic call to action among a group of people filled with hope. "Let's build a community," Clara urged, her voice filled with conviction. "Let's make this barn a hub for dreams, a space where stories don't fade away but echo for generations to come." The energy surged through the group, igniting their collective imagination. As the gathering continued into the night, Clara glanced around at the faces illuminated by the soft glow of the lanterns. Each person was woven with a shared vision, a future they would nurture together, ensuring their own stories thrived alongside hers. Clara knew in this moment that they were embarking on a beautiful adventure together, united by love, resilience, and the very land they held sacred. As the celebration drew to a close, Clara stood amidst laughter, stories, and hopes shared under the starlit sky. She breathed in the sense of the earth around her, feeling profoundly grateful for everything that had led her to this point. The barn pulsed with potential and purpose, and she realized it had transformed from a hollow shell into a vessel, one filled with dreams, friendship, and the promise of tomorrow. "Thank you all for being here," Clara said, her voice softened yet firm with gratitude. "Tonight we've begun to create something beautiful, a family, a community, and together we'll continue to nurture this sanctuary. Thank you for allowing me to share my dreams with you." In that moment, Clara understood. The fight against loneliness had turned into a journey towards abundance. Her past was no longer a haunting shadow, but rather the soil from which new roots could grow sustainable and intertwined. With compassion and commitment, they would cultivate their shared hopes, ensuring that this land remained a thriving space for connections, laughter, and love, a true home. As she looked around, Clara's heart sang, knowing she had found acceptance, love, and a future filled with promise. In united strength, they all gathered under the vast sky, and for the first time in her life, she felt an unwavering sense of belonging. Here, within the barn's embrace, amid friends and community, Clara knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. Clara awoke the next morning as sunlight filtered through the windows of the barn, casting gentle patterns that danced across the wooden floor. Memories of the previous night's gathering swirled in her mind, a beautiful blend of laughter, stories, and shared dreams. She felt renewed, her heart filled with a sense of hope and purpose. The air around her was electric, beckoning her to embrace the day ahead. As she stepped outside, the cool morning dew kissed her feet, and she was greeted by the vibrant garden she had nurtured. Each flower and plant stood proudly, mirroring the spirit of connection and community that seemed to envelop the land. The barn, once a mere structure, now pulsed with the warmth of friendships blossoming. It was an inviting sanctuary full of laughter, love, and ambition. With a newfound sense of determination, Clara grabbed a notepad and pencil, settling by her old tractor to sketch out her vision for the community garden. As she began drawing, ideas flowed like the vibrant colors of the flowers around her. She envisioned a space where everyone could gather to learn, share, and grow. From workshops on gardening and cooking to storytelling sessions and arts and crafts, her plans began to take shape. Clara felt invigorated, recognizing that this garden would become a living testament to the strength of community. Lost in thought, she suddenly became aware of Marcus's presence beside her. Leaning against the tractor, he wore a shy smile, an expression both familiar and comforting. "I couldn't help but notice how lost you were in your thoughts," he said, breaking into her reverie. "Last night really was something special, wasn't it?" Clara nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude for this moment. "It truly was. I've been brainstorming about how to keep this community spirit alive through the garden. I want it to be a place where we can all connect." "I'd love to help," Marcus said, surprising her with his enthusiasm. "I'm decent with tools, and gardening is something I've always wanted to learn more about." A flicker of excitement connected them, each realizing how their shared interest could bridge the gap between their pasts. Together, they began discussing practical steps to launch the garden project. The more they talked, the more Clara envisioned not just a garden of plants, but a thriving hub of friendships and collaboration. It would be a space where individuals brought their unique talents to the table, enriching the community collectively. Months passed, and as the first designated planting day approached, excitement buzzed through the barn like a summer storm. Clara found herself standing among families, their lively chatter filling the air with hopeful anticipation. "This isn't just about planting seeds. It's about sowing connections," she announced, feeling a rush of energy coursing through her as she beckoned everyone over to the garden beds. There was an eagerness in the crowd, smiles brightening faces as they joined together. They dug into the soil, their hands working in harmony as they planted seeds while sharing stories, laughter, and hopes for the future. Clara felt an intoxicating mix of joy and purpose as they worked side by side, their collective efforts a vibrant tapestry of togetherness. After the planting, they gathered in the barn for a communal meal, savoring the fruits of their labor with dishes made from ingredients fresh from the garden. The space vibrated with warmth, camaraderie flowing freely as they ate, compared recipes, and exchanged gardening tips. As the weeks unfolded, the garden flourished alongside the friendships that blossomed within the barn walls. Clara marveled at the transformation. The connections among the townsfolk deepened, their laughter intertwining like the roots they had planted. What had once felt like a distant dream now beautifully unfolded under shared sunshine. One evening, Clara decided to host an appreciation meal to celebrate their journey and reflect on their accomplishments. She wanted everyone to feel acknowledged and appreciated for their contributions to the budding community. Surrounded by a colorful array of homegrown produce, she smiled at the gathering of familiar faces. Here was the culmination of her hopes, represented in each laugh and smile. "Thank you for not just planting seeds in the ground, but for planting seeds in each other's hearts," Clara said, her voice suffused with emotion. "What we've built here is more than a garden. It's a home filled with stories, learning, and love. Each flower, each fruit we harvest tells our story." As Clara's eyes scanned the crowd, she was met with warmth and sincerity, overwhelming her with gratitude. Each person was a thread in the tapestry of this community, their individual journeys woven together, transformed into something beautiful. She realized that the growth of the garden reflected their growth as individuals and a community. Resilience, togetherness, and a collective spirit had emerged from what once felt like solitude. The evening wore on, filled with shared laughter and stories of overcoming challenges. Clara felt the weight of her past lift with every moment spent in this loving embrace. Among her treasured friends, she recognized that she was not merely tending a garden, she was nurturing a family. As the sun began to set, casting brilliant shades of gold and crimson across the sky, Clara felt an immense sense of peace settle within her. The love and acceptance that enveloped her were palpable, a reassuring truth in the face of life's uncertainties. She understood that the journey, once marked by lonely doubt, had led her to this place of belonging and shared dreams. In this garden of friendship, Clara saw the dawn of a new life. Seeds of connection had taken root, blossoming into bonds that promised to endure. With every smile exchanged and story shared, she recognized the beauty of community, a mosaic of lives intertwining, fresh with possibility and love. Clara knew with absolute certainty that she was no longer searching for belonging. She had found it, wrapped warmly within the hearts of those gathered around her. Here, in the garden's embrace, she felt truly at home. As weeks turned into months, Clara fully embraced her new life within the community that had blossomed around her. Mornings greeted her with radiant sunlight, illuminating the garden where she found joy in tending to the plants that had become symbols of hope. Vibrant vegetables and colorful flowers flourished under her care, mirroring the friendships that were intricately woven into her days. The laughter of children echoed from the nearby creek, a sweet reminder of the joy that surrounded her, filling the air with a vibrant energy. With autumn on the horizon, anticipation for the harvest festival stirred Clara's spirit. It would be a moment to celebrate their collective efforts, her feast showcasing not just the fruits of their labor, but the strength of bonds formed through shared purpose. Clara's heart danced at the thought of long tables adorned with homemade dishes crafted from the crops they had all nurtured together. It was more than just a meal. It was a tribute to their resilience and commitment to community. In the days leading to the festival, Clara led preparations with a passion that infected everyone involved. Cooking sessions became gatherings filled with laughter as neighbors shared cherished family recipes and culinary techniques. Mrs. Thompson held flower arranging workshops, ensuring every table would gleam with beauty. The children painted colorful signs, eagerly anticipating the chance to share their artwork with everyone who attended. Clara reveled in the organized chaos of the preparations, her heart swelling with excitement as she observed the community come together. On the festival day, the air buzzed with anticipation. Clara stood in the garden absorbing the sight of families arriving, their expressions filled with happiness and pride. As dusk approached, the barn brimmed with energy, lanterns flickering, creating a warm, inviting glow that welcomed all who entered. Tonight, we gather to celebrate not just our harvest, but the connections we've forged, Clara announced, her voice resonating with conviction. We've grown together, sowing seeds of friendship and unity. As the evening unfolded, Clara watched the joy radiate from each person present, the sound of laughter intertwined with the delicious aromas wafting from the tables. Together, they shared dishes bursting with flavor, each bite a reflection of love and care. Stories flowed freely, recounting the struggles and triumphs of the past, weaving a shared history that cemented their bond even further. When Clara took her turn to speak, vulnerability enveloped her. I came here searching for a place to belong, and through each of you, I found my family, she shared, her heart raw and open. We've built something beautiful, a community that thrives together. The sincerity in her words resonated deeply within the hearts of those gathered, creating an atmosphere of understanding and connection. After dinner, the children took center stage, their innocent energy infectious as they sang songs they had prepared. Clara cheered them on, her heart filled with warmth. Later, as lanterns glowed above, she felt the depth of gratitude for everyone who had helped nurture this vibrant tapestry of relationships. The crowd grew animated, bursting with life and laughter, the festival embodying the spirit of love and acceptance. With every passing moment, Clara understood that she was part of something greater than herself. What had begun as a personal journey had evolved into a collective adventure of hope and healing. Each person present was a piece of the community puzzle, and together they created an intricate portrait of resilience, support, and vibrant life. As the celebration continued into the night, Clara's heart brimmed with happiness. The burdens of her past gradually vanished in the warmth of shared connections. Surrounded by friends, she appreciated what had blossomed, a community built on love, acceptance, and the promise of a bright future. In that moment, Clara felt a profound sense of peace draping over her. Here, under the glowing lanterns, celebrated in the laughter and joy of family, she realized she was home, not just in the garden or the barn, but in the hearts of those who had welcomed her. And as the night wore on, she silently vowed to nurture this love, ensuring that their shared story would continue to flourish for generations to come.